Imagine waking each day in a place where one joke can erase you, one wrong word can end your future, and a dry eye at a funeral can sentence you to prison. This isn't a thriller or a cautionary fable, it's the reality described inside North Korea. The narrator insists every detail is true, that behind sealed borders lies a vast human cage where clothing, music, speech, and even private thoughts are policed. People disappear for whispers, families suffer for a single mistake, and attempts to leave can doom relatives who never stepped outside their doors. I'm Ethan Cole. Today's journey promises more than headlines. An unfiltered walk through homes set to one-station radios, neighborhoods supervised by fear, and classrooms where devotion is survival. Keep listening, they say, because only the full picture shows how control rewires daily life until freedom itself feels like a dangerous dream you dare not name. For more than 70 years, one bloodline has held the reins. Kim Il-sung established the throne, Kim Jong-il fortified it, and Kim Jong-un occupies it now. Power passes like inheritance, treating 26 million citizens as assets to be managed. Luxury compounds, private theaters, and rare delicacies contrast with scarcity for the many. The state manufactures myths while suppressing questions. Dissent is not debate, but disappearance, and obedience is measured not by law, but by fear. In this dynasty, loyalty is oxygen, and truth adjusts to the leader's needs. From your first breath, your path is narrowed by songbun, a hereditary ranking that grades a family's political reliability. High songbun can mean residence in a favored city, access to strong schools, safer jobs, and better rations. Low songbun reroutes a life into menial labor, crumbling districts, and doors that never open. The brutal mathematics is ancestral. Past loyalty deposits credit for descendants, while suspicion, real or rumored, withdraws opportunity across generations. You cannot study yourself upward, work yourself free, or apologize for a grandparent's error. The ledger records what you never lived and bills you anyway. Even marriages, assignments, and travel permits are filtered through this invisible caste. Imagine being punished for a sentence spoken decades before you existed. In such a system, merit is ornamental, choice performative, and hope bureaucratized. Songbun isn't just a file, it is the skeleton of everyday life, shaping what you may touch, taste, learn, and dream. With penalties accrued at birth, authority descends into the wardrobe. Women are expected to wear longer skirts and conservative cuts. Jeans, tight silhouettes, and bright lipstick are branded foreign intrusions. Men and women select from state-approved haircuts, with length and style patrolled by street inspections. Dye signals defiance and can trigger punishment. Fashion choices become political statements without consent, because aesthetics are read as allegiance. A pair of fitted pants or a modern bob may end in arrest, a lecture, or months of re-education through hard labor. The aim isn't simply modesty, it's uniformity, a visual chorus that quiets difference. When mirrors become checkpoints and combs feel like compliance tools, individuality shrinks to fit the state's frame, and people learn to treat their bodies like billboards for loyalty. Food arrives not through choice but through ration cards, and songbun decides the contents. Families with favorable status may see rice, eggs, and vegetables. Others make do with corn and cabbage, stretching portions with grass or bark when the bins run thin. To taste meat is a holiday. To buy it on the side is a risk. Along alleys and in whispers, black markets bloom illegal stalls trading grain, oil, clothes. These lifelines are also tripwires. A raid can erase savings. A charge can reroute a life to a camp. Hunger isn't an accident but a management tool, reminding people that survival depends on obedience and luck. Indoctrination begins at story time. Children memorize the leader's speeches like catechism. Schoolbooks anchor history to a single family's glory, while painting the outside world as chaos. Radios, fixed to state frequencies, drone from early morning. Turning them off is not an option. There is no open internet, only a walled intranet populated by approved pages that echo the same ideology. Every book, show, and film is pre-filtered. Foreign media is rebranded as infection. Even curiosity is criminalized. A South Korean drama on a flash drive, a foreign song on a radio, a USB mixed among school books, can be treated as treason. Information is rationed like grain, measured, inspected, and withheld. Censorship here isn't just deletion, it is substitution. A relentless overlay that replaces complexity with slogans and crowds out doubt until silence feels safe. Minds grow within a curated weather system, where every forecast predicts loyalty, and every cloud that looks like a question is blown away. Fear needs witnesses, so the state recruits them everywhere. Neighbors log small anomalies, co-workers clock hesitations, even family members report reluctant tears. The home, supposedly private, is staged for inspection, with two portraits, Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il, mounted on a dedicated wall, kept spotless under penalty. Inspectors can arrive unannounced, and fires have official priorities. Rescue the images before rescuing your child. Ritual inhabits the daily routine, dusting frames, bowing to statues, practicing grief for set pieces of devotion. A half-smile in the wrong context, a joke told to the wrong ear, a pause during a speech can harden into evidence. Worship is not merely encouraged, it is measured, and measurement breeds performance. The system fuses surveillance and ritual into a single discipline. Observation supplies accusations, and choreographed reverence supplies the illusion of love. Under these conditions, people learn to rehearse feelings on cue, because a sincere face is less important than a safe one. Official pay hovers at a few US dollars per month, numbers that mock the price of survival. People supplement through side trades and long shifts, stacking small savings into brittle hopes. One raid can sweep it all away. Those caught outside the rules slide into penal labor, where work means exhaustion, beatings for slowness, and a ration measured to maintain life just above collapse. Soup turns thin, corn portions shrink, and prisoners scavenge insects or rats in a ritual of enforced degradation. Memory still aches from the 1,990 seconds famine when countless died as palaces gleamed and monuments rose, a contrast etched into family stories like a scar. Meanwhile, accounts of the leader's luxuries, private island, fast cars, rich wines hang like chandelier reflections over darkened kitchens. The state stages grandeur for cameras. Citizens stage endurance for tomorrow. The distance between them is measured in empty bowls, the clink of a spoon against nothing, and the hush after a confiscated stash. Maps here are not invitations but fences. Traveling to another city requires permits. Buses and trains are policed by documents as much as by drivers. The southern border, carved into the DMZ, is a landscape of mines, wire, and celebrated vigilance. The northern rivers watch for footprints in snow and wake with armored patrols. Escape routes slant through China, where capture can mean being sent back to interrogations that bloom into torture. Punishment does not stop at the traveler. 3 generations can pay parents, siblings, children dragged into the wake of a single decision. The law of bloodline casts punishment like a net, making every plan a burden on loved ones. Inside the borders, state television loops its worldview, and the internet reflects it back, ensuring that even the idea of elsewhere remains suspicious, fragile, and expensive to contemplate. Movement is managed not just by fences, but by fear of what might happen to those you love. Terror is public pedagogy. Executions are staged before crowds to stamp the lesson into memory. Obedience is survival. Curiosity is lethal. Crimes can be microscopic, owning a Bible, watching a foreign film, speaking disrespect, but sentences aim for maximal theater. The crowd becomes a classroom, the body a blackboard. Behind the spectacles, camps extend the lecture into daily life. In places like Camp 14, morning begins before light and ends near midnight, a conveyor of labor where slowness invites blows and hunger calibrates compliance. The ration is arithmetic, designed to erase spare energy. A little corn, a ladle of murky soup, the occasional scavenged creature. Some prisoners were born inside, their earliest facts composed of fences and orders. One such man watched his mother and brother executed, compelled to attend as punishment, the state rewriting family into spectacle. These practices are not glitches, but systems tools to isolate, exhaust, and display. Isolation cuts off solidarity. Exhaustion steals the minutes needed to think. Display warns the undecided. By turning punishment into a show and survival into a calculation, terror becomes policy, and policy becomes a rhythm that taps through every day until resistance seems impractical, then impossible, and finally, unthinkable. The regime constructs theology around the ruling family, stories of bodies too perfect for ordinary needs, weather that bows to a leader's mood, stars that appear to herald a birth. Such myths are not merely tolerated, they are enacted, with citizens choreographing awe tears on cue, bows at statues, ecstatic applause timed to speeches. Sincerity is irrelevant. Visible fervor is the metric, and tepid displays can indict. Purges reinforce the script. A half-brother is poisoned in a foreign airport. A powerful uncle is erased at home, and cadres evaporate for insufficient reverence. These spectacles do two jobs at once. They remove rivals and educate the masses. If family is not safe, nobody is. If high rank is not shelter, then only performance remains. The cult buys obedience with fear and sells identity as devotion. Language itself is repurposed, so that loyalty means agreeing that miracles are ordinary and that yesterday's erasures were inevitable. Under such pressure, people learn to survive by rehearsing belief, because disbelief has no safe synonyms, only consequences with long shadows. Leaving is illegal, yet longing drafts maps in secret. The DMZ southward is a fortress of mines, sensors, and soldiers. So many turn north, slipping toward China across rivers that freeze hard and thaw treacherously. From there, a maze of safe houses, guides, and sympathetic hands can redirect a path toward South Korea or farther, all dependent on trust that is never complete. Those captured describe interrogations that become ritualized torment, beatings with rods until bones fail, fingernails pulled with pliers, hours kneeling on sharp stones, and in the cruelest calculus, forced abortions when pregnancies signal foreign contact. And still, the underground moves, fragile and persistent. Activists and defectors run an invisible railroad of information. USB drives stuffed with South Korean dramas and world news, shortwave radios concealed behind panels, cash and leaflets, lofted by balloons across the border night after night. A single episode of an ordinary show can detonate assumptions more effectively than a speech. A news clip can widen the horizon of the possible. Information is the acid that propaganda fears most, because comparison is the root of doubt, and doubt is the first door to refusal. Beyond the border, geopolitics thickens the air. China, wary of collapse and mass migration, maintains a buffer rather than a neighbor's revolution. Russia transacts when useful, exploiting sanctions' blind spots. Democracies balance outrage against the risk of war, layering condemnation with caution. The stalemate persists, a prison nation sustained by external interests and internal terror. Yet beneath the rituals, something shifts. More people listen after midnight, passing whispered summaries of foreign stories. More hide small radios and test the edges of official truth against glimpses of elsewhere. More measure the regime's promises against ration lines and empty kitchens. Awakening does not always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like refusing to cry on command, or sharing a ration with a neighbor's child, or deciding that a rumor of freedom is worth the danger of carrying a USB in a sewn pocket. Some escape and speak, their testimonies stitching a counter-history. Others remain, seeding doubt that travels along family lines faster than punishment can keep up. The regime understands the arithmetic. If belief cracks, it spiderwebs, and each fracture invites another. That is why propaganda shouts so loudly, and punishments echo so far. The narrator's final plea is blunt, and human remember the freedoms you barely notice, and refuse to look away from those who risk everything to taste them. The story is unfinished, as long as one person still tries the door. As long as hands extend across borders with truth disguised as entertainment, as long as memory and witness outlast fear. One day, they insist, the walls will fall. Until then, attention is a kind of help, and sharing what slips past the censors is the small, stubborn work of keeping hope alive. Did this story open your eyes? Don't let it stop with you. Share this video with someone you love, family, friends, classmates, so more people understand what freedom means and why it matters. Your share could be the spark that spreads awareness. And if you want more powerful English stories and listening practice like this, hit subscribe and turn on the bell for English Avenue today. Join our community and never miss the next lesson, the next truth, the next step.